Let's talk about a war where decisions get made in milliseconds, not hours, where the whole process, from spotting a target to taking the shot, is run by AI. Now, this isn't some distant sci-fi movie plot. It's a future we are barreling towards, and a recent analysis painted a pretty chilling picture of what's at stake using a fictional near-future war. So let's break down what that could really look like. Okay, so picture this. The year is 2026, it's late February, and a massive conflict just erupts in the Persian Gulf. They're calling it Operation Epic Fury, and it's escalating at a speed nobody has ever seen before. Why? Because the attacks are literally happening faster than a human being can think, completely changing the timeline of war as we know it. And that speed isn't just an exaggeration. We're talking about almost 900 strikes on Iranian targets in the first 12 hours alone. An incredible number like that is only possible when you hand over key battlefield jobs to artificial intelligence. This fictional conflict is what experts are now calling the first real AI war. And that's not just a cool-sounding name. It signals a huge shift. The first time AI isn't just crunching data in the background, but is actively running the show, from gathering intel and IDing targets all the way to executing the mission. Just try to wrap your head around that number. 5,500 strikes in just 10 days. That pace is something that would have been totally impossible with humans making every call. And it was all done by using these advanced AI tools, like Palantir's Maven system, which can just tear through mountains of satellite and surveillance data to find and queue up targets in real time. You know, the big promise of AI in war has always been about making things more precise, right? Fewer mistakes, less collateral damage. But what this scenario shows us is that all that incredible speed and scale, well, it came with a truly devastating and tragic price tag. And this right here is where it gets really horrifying. On February 28th, a missile hits near a girls' primary school. Over 170 people are killed, most of them children under 12. So what went wrong? The targeting AI was using old intel from 2016, a full decade old. It literally couldn't see the school because, in its data, the building didn't exist yet. A tragedy like that just forces you to stop and ask a fundamental question. This clearly isn't just about simple automation anymore. So what really makes an AI-powered weapon so different? And why are its mistakes so unbelievably catastrophic? Well, experts are arguing we need to treat these systems as a completely new class of weapon. The term they're using is AI laws. That's AI-powered lethal autonomous weapon systems. And believe me, they are fundamentally different from any automated weapon we've seen before. The real difference maker here is how these things think. AI laws use modern AI. We're talking neural nets, machine learning, to make life or death decisions. And that brings a whole new set of risks to the table that old systems just didn't have, like being unpredictable or having this opacity problem, basically a black box where even the humans in charge don't know why it made a certain choice. So to figure out what actually counts as an AI LOS, experts came up with a simple two-part test. First, the system has to use modern AI, the kind that can get things wrong or whose performance can just degrade over time. And second, that AI has to be directly involved in the lethal part of the equation, either pulling the trigger itself or telling a human when to. If it checks both boxes, it's an AI LOS. Let's make this super clear with an example. On the left, you've got the old school stuff, like the Harpy drone from the 80s. It was autonomous, sure, but its logic was simple. Find a radar signal, fly toward it. Totally predictable. On the right, you have modern systems like the Russian Lancet drone. It uses adaptive learning-based AI. It can switch up its own behavior, and that introduces a whole world of new risks that our old rulebook just wasn't built to handle. But here's the thing. This new class of weapon isn't just about old risks moving at a faster speed. It's about totally new, hidden dangers. Let's dig into the three big ones. So, risk number one is something called algorithmic brittleness. It sounds technical, but the idea is actually pretty simple. It's when an AI works perfectly in training, aces every test, but then you put it in the real world and it sees something just a little bit new, and it fails. Catastrophically. And that brings us right back to the school bombing. It's a textbook, tragic example of this brittleness. The AI was trained on data from 2016. But when it was faced with the reality of 2026, a new building that wasn't in its memory, it just couldn't adapt. And that failure was absolutely lethal. The second major risk is opacity, or what everyone calls the black box problem. The AI models making these life-or-death calls are so complex that often no human, not even the operator, can tell you how it reached a decision. And if you don't know the why, how on earth are you supposed to stop it from making a terrible mistake? Now, the third risk actually goes way beyond the battlefield. The technology gap between civilian and military AI is tiny now. So a breakthrough in a university lab today could be in a weapon tomorrow. This gives governments a huge incentive to lock down open research to get a leg up. And it dangerously blurs the line between a civilian research center and a military asset, which could put scientists themselves right in the crosshairs. So, if these risks are so obvious, why isn't everyone hitting the brakes? Well, that brings us to the politics of it all, which you can basically understand as a classic prisoner's dilemma. And the irony here is just staggering. In February 2026, just a few weeks before this fictional war kicks off, you have diplomats from all over the world gathered in Spain, talking about the responsible use of military AI. But while they were talking, these exact systems were already being deployed on the battlefield, completely rewriting the rules of war in real time. It just shows you the massive gap between how fast technology moves and how slow diplomacy can be. And this quote from the Dutch defense minister just nails the problem. Every country is stuck. They know there should be rules, but no one wants to be the country that restricts itself while its rivals go full steam ahead. That fear of being left behind is what's fueling this new arms race. But look, it's not all doom and gloom. The very same people who are flagging these risks are also coming up with some concrete, tech-savvy solutions. It's all about building smarter guardrails for this new era of warfare. So here are a few of the big ideas on the table. First, a total ban on AI having any control over nuclear weapons. That's a no-brainer. Second, ban so-called AI generals, systems that could order human soldiers around. Third, we need international standards to actually test and approve these systems. And fourth, we have to spell out the legal protections for civilian AI labs to keep them safe. And this quote right here really gets to the heart of it. Command decisions are just too important, they're too nuanced, and they depend too much on human context to ever hand them over to a machine. Whatever we build, a human has to have meaningful control, period. So this leaves us with the billion-dollar question, doesn't it? The technology is only going to get faster. The weapons are only going to get smarter. The real test, then, isn't for the AI, it's for us. As our tools become more intelligent, how do we make sure that we as humans become more wise?